I am confident. I am stoppable. I am worth it. I am needed. All of these things are mantras that sound really freaking cheesy. And the first time you use them, you're going to find that you're rolling your eyes, because I did. The reality is that when we use these mantras to remind ourselves of how powerful or all of the things that we want to embody, then we can build our confidence. But most importantly, we can put in our gifts out into the world. Today's discussion is about diversity, inclusion, and how everybody matters.
And Julie and I talk about comic books.
That was great. I loved it.
Because she's my superhero.
Oh, feeling is mutual.
Welcome to Casa de Confidence,
A podcast for women
and some cool dudes
going in the direction of their dreams and the confidence it takes to reach them. I'm your host, Julie DeLucca-Collins.
and your sidekick, handsome hot husband. That again.
I am a dreamer, a traveler, a missionary, and risk taker. I am a lover of books, activist, philanthropist, and most of all, we are a supporter of people and their dreams. If you stumble into the casa for the first time, welcome. If you've been here before, we're so glad you're back. Grab your drink of choice, settle in, and make yourself at home.
Hi, this is Dan Collins from Casa de Confidence, and I have with me Julie DeLucca-Collins, your host of Casa de Confidence. Julie, say hi to the people.
You're peppy this morning, for the love of God. Super peppy. I don't know if I'm ready for this kind of peppiness. I only had 1 cup of coffee today.
Well, you know, morning person, not morning person, but you're pretty, you know what, you've become more of a morning person since you've been here in Connecticut for the last,
13 years.
13?
Hey, by the way, I don't know if I would call you a morning person because I was up before you for at least a couple hours.
You were.
Yeah,
But I allowed myself to sleep. I kept waking up last night.
Oh, poor baby.
And I had to go to the bathroom a lot. Sorry, a lot of information.
Wait a minute. I had to go to the bathroom a lot as well. What do you think that was about? Because I was thinking to myself, oh my God, this is like the 3rd time in one night. How does this happen? Maybe something we drank and
Maybe.
we didn't have any alcohol. It was just tea.
Maybe Mongolian food makes us hungry. I mean, have to pee.
Maybe it was the tea, the bubba tea that we
We
have.
went to a new restaurant.
That's right.
The Mongolian bowl?
Hungry bowl.
But it's Mongolian grill.
And it's like this place where you can choose the stuff and they cook it for you. You choose the sauce, the protein, the vegetables.
And it's the first time I've ever been to an all-you-can-eat place with Julie.
Yeah, Julie doesn't do those quite often, but I
And
know
we
that.
don't do all-you-can-eat places. And
Yeah.
you know what? I did very well. I didn't eat all I could eat.
Ooh, look at that. I thought you were going to say I did very well. I got my money's worth.
No. You know what?
What?
I would pay for that later, wouldn't I?
Yes, you would. Abso-freaking-lutely.
So, all you can eat is not free. It's
Yeah,
pay
for
for it
sure.
later. Anyway,
Yes. So as you can see, I am right here. Wait, can you see me? I don't know where my hands are going.
well, Julie's waving to the crowd if you're watching the YouTube video. But if you're listening to us in the car or listening to us on the
there I am.
YouTube feed, you can't see her.
YouTube is on delayed, by the way.
If you want to see her or you want to see me, go watch the video afterwards. And we'll have we're going to start publishing our regular episodes on YouTube. Julie's done it here and there, but I'm starting to produce them now.
Ooh, high-level production coming.
Well, it's not high level, it's get it done level.
Get it done level. Ooh, that's interesting.
Little intro, little outro, little teaser at the beginning, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And, we'll see how that works out. We haven't done that. We've done it for some of our clients, but we haven't done it for ourselves.
No, we have not done it for ourselves, but we don't do for our clients who we produce shows on YouTube or the podcast. We don't do get it done. We do excellent work.
Right.
Above and beyond.
So,
Just
Julie,
saying.
for those that have been listening for a month or two, you probably haven't realized, unless you've gone back and listened, normally the format of our podcast is Julie has an interview. You know, she talks with the person, she has a conversation, she has great people she brings in.
Yes.
But in the beginning, what we have been doing, but not in the last month or two, is we have this little conversation in the beginning. So, you know, we can catch you up on stuff and let you know about things. And that's what we do. So, Julie.
Yes, Dan.
First of all, our guest is Andrea Horton-Mericli. I don't know if I said it right. And actually, a common theme on most of Julie's videos, especially this one, in the very beginning, she's really bad at last names.
I try not to be.
But you try not to be, but it's always an entertaining moment if you get the name wrong.
I think you should just take those out going forward now that you expose my kryptonite.
It's part of your charm.
Part of my charm? I do say that when I tell people, I'm sorry, it's part of my charm that I don't know how to do that.
You know, the funniest thing, you talk about kryptonite, and who's the superhero that is kryptonite's weakness?
It is guy.
Yeah, Superman. Do you know in the beginning he had two weaknesses?
Yes. Chocolate too?
And the other weakness, it lost out.
What was it?
Kryptonite. Kryptonite got a better marketing.
What was the other weakness?
Magic.
Oh, listen, are we like in this nerd conversation again?
We are in this nerd conversation, and that's why Captain Marvel, the original Captain Marvel, not the one from Marvel, but the one that was, you know, in DC, originally Fawcett Comics. Sorry, I'm geeking out right now.
There's a lot of geekiness going on.
He's magical.
People are tuning out now.
A lot of you people have seen the movie Shazam, and Shazam originally was Captain Marvel.
You know, our ideal listener and viewer, woman in midlife, it's not really paying attention.
I'm trying to attract the nerd squad here.
You're trying to attract the nerds. Well, you know what? If you want to talk nerds and superheroes, I'll talk about a superhero thing too. However, I do want to say, now see, I forgot what I was going to say about nerds. Squad. Oh, yeah. Okay. Did you know that Clark Kent is not the alter ego of Superman? No. Yeah, wait a minute. Superman's alter ego is Clark Kent. And you know why? Because Superman is Superman, but he needed to lessen himself and hide behind the nerdiness and meekness of Clark Kent.
So his reality is Superman.
Yeah, his reality is Superman.
Or Kal-El, which is...
Well, now you're getting nerdy. Okay, can I talk about my Batman effect?
Well, wait a minute.
Oh,
okay. I got to the point of Captain Marvel, and that's why Captain Marvel is as powerful as Superman, because he's magic.
Because he's magic?
Yeah, Superman's other weakness is magic.
Ugh, I'm so confused.
But he's a good guy. So, anyway, enough about that.
Well, are you going to hashtag this nerd alert? Come and listen?
Hashtag nerd squad.
Nerd squad. Okay, if you're a Dan follower, tag yourself as nerd squad.
Or
what other name could there be? Hashtag handsome hot husband nerd squad.
Anyway.
Oh, you didn't even want to answer that.
All right, Julie.
Okay. I want to talk about the Batman effect. Well, I want to talk about something that is very important because it relates to everybody. And Superman and doesn't really, comic books doesn't relate to everybody. However, I was reading... Okay. I was reading this thing that how to overcome fear. And there's a lot of different ways in which you can overcome fear because a lot of times procrastination is a fear result. So if you're procrastinating on doing something is because you're afraid of doing it. You're afraid of failing. You're afraid of shame, or a lot of different things. And I think that this is where a lot of people don't realize, and they beat themselves up for not getting things done on time, putting them off. But the reality is that it's a lot of other things going on in the back of the house of your brain. So do you procrastinate, Daniel Collins?
Absolutely not.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Of course.
Excuse me. So here's the thing. When we are procrastinating, one of the things that, and I had done this in the past, and for whatever reason, I fell out of habitual behavior on this, but it's to use the 10-10 rule. Basically, if you want to get a task, or if you're afraid of something, you can ask yourself, how will this impact me in 10 minutes, in 10 hours, 10 days, or 10 years? And I think that that's one of the things that helps to normalize whatever it's going on. The other thing, too, is that we don't name what we're afraid of a lot of times. We just kind of let it go underneath, undetected, and we know that we're procrastinating and we beat ourselves up for that, but we're not necessarily looking under the hood and realizing that when we are procrastinating is because that fear of failure. And for me, I know that the fear of failure also comes down to shame. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like may not, be liked or do it well. And all of that is a lot of excuses. Now, for me...
Now, how does this relate to Batman?
I'm going to get there. I'm going to land my plane. Give me a minute.
Okay, sorry.
So the basic thing, though, is that when we want to speak out, or when we want to work in our business, or when we want to make a change, and then we keep saying, oh, I'll start eating healthy next week, or I'll go to the gym next week, is that we're already telling ourselves a story that we're not going to do it right, that we're going to fail, that we're going to, who am I to do it, right? And that's where the imposter syndrome comes in. So one thing that you can do is when you're naming your fear, I am afraid that I am not good enough at, right? I am afraid that I will be laughed out of the world for having a podcast or going live on Facebook, right? Whatever that may be, is the thing that prevents us from actually doing the action. But when we start to name our fear, so for instance, if my fear is pursuing or creating and recording videos for a course, right? I may be afraid that no one's going to buy the course. I may be afraid that no one can relate to the content that I will be sharing. I am afraid that maybe we won't make money on this and we'll invest a lot of time and energy. So all of these things create kind of these roadblocks for me actually going and doing the thing. So now it's very important to name, right? I am afraid of being a failure at being a course creator. Now that I say that out loud, I'm sort of like neutralizing the thought and becoming more aware of what I'm going and feeling and doing. And then this is where the Batman effect can come in. What do you think the Batman effect is?
Not sure.
You're not even sure where I'm going with this? Do you follow me so far, though? Okay, so there's a study that said that children perform better on a challenging task if they pretend to be someone else, like Batman. So the Batman effect applies to all of us in the sense that if we act as if, right, I am a powerful woman who does courses, or I am a badass content creator, or I am an amazing person when it comes to making bread, because I've been making bread, right? So if I already assume the identity as I'm doing the task, it's been proven in this research study that people tend to do much better at the task as opposed to just going at it with the fear.
And it's not that you're not good at being that badass person. It's that you feel you're not feeling like you're that badass person.
Yeah. And it's your alter ego. It's creating an alter ego.
We're our biggest critic.
Of course, that's what imposter syndrome is.
And that's, if you act like you are that badass,
Yeah,
you will be the badass that you actually are.
Absolutely.
Right?
And
But you don't think you are, but you are.
Yeah. And alter egos are psychologically proven to help us out of situations that are difficult and things that we typically avoid, right? So for instance, if someone is afraid of going into a networking event because they're very introverted, they can say, you know what? I am a great networker. I am a people person. And it doesn't mean that you have to fake it till you make it, but you can act as the Batman of networking, right? And take those qualities and embody them as you walk in. And then that helps to boost your performance and your confidence in that level. What do you think?
Awesome. It's a great lesson. I like it.
You like it? I like it a lot too.
I love it.
So. I like it. I love it. How does the song go? There you go.
So. All right. Well,
anyhow,
you know what? We filled everyone with comic book dreams today, and I appreciate that.
Comic book dreams, really?
So, Julie.
Yes.
I know you want to get onto this interview with Andrea.
I do. And I think that this is a very timely topic for what is going on in our world. And I will continue to be an advocate of this topic because for so many of us, right, we enter the world really measuring ourselves up by what society is saying of us. And currently society is really diminishing the power of diversity, is really putting a lot of information out there that people who are diverse don't matter. And this is the one thing that I want us to really start to pay attention to, that when we have diversity, when we allow different perspectives and backgrounds to come into our organizations, into our lives, into our society and communities, we can actually enjoy more success because we're thinking out of the box. We're not stuck in the same old kind of thinking. And there's a lot of organizations that continue to do work to promote diverse environments. Someone said to me in a Facebook post this week, well, the problem with diversity and inclusion is that unqualified people get jobs. That's bullshit. And it's not how it works. There's highly qualified people that for centuries and years have gone untapped to as potential, as gifted people because of the color of their skin, before where they came from. And it's time that we create opportunities for women, for neurodivergent people, for Latinos, for African Americans, because when we all have opportunities, then the whole collective of people get better. Our society improves. And this lie that diversity is bringing us down and is giving preferential treatment to people who are unqualified is the biggest BS. And our guest today is someone who can help us kind of dissect this information. She gives us important insights into recognizing and supporting neurodivergent individuals in the workplace. We also talk about the invisible spaces where we don't have enough diversity to create change and success overall for others. So that's all. Off my thing.
You know what? I listen to these interviews as I'm edited, but I also listen to it in the car. So I'm really interested in this conversation this week as I travel to work. So I hope you all are looking forward to this interview and you will enjoy it, maybe make you think, maybe give you inspiration. Julie?
Yes, Daniel.
I love you.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So, all right. So everyone, enjoy this interview with Andrea and Julie.
Amazing. Welcome back to another episode of Casa de Confidence and the Confident You Radio Network. I want to tell you that many of us embark in journeys of self-discovery, and our guest today is pretty much the same. Growing up, she was passionate about technology and innovation and started university majoring in electrical engineering. As a minority woman in a male-dominated industry, she often felt like didn't belong. As a first-gen working college student, she didn't know where to go for help and support. Despite her talents and ambitions, self-doubt crept in, holding her back from fully embracing her potential. We're going to unpack not only her journey, but a little bit of what she is doing now to really make an impact on this world and help others go confidently. Welcome to the show, Andrea Horton, Mary. Oh my gosh, Mericli.
Very good, Maricli. Yes, thank you so
my
much.
charm, people. We practice. I just want to say, I ask people how to pronounce your name. I say it correctly to them, and I get on the show, and it really must be a segment on the show. So I apologize because I am a stickler for making sure people say my name correctly. And it must be because I'm a stickler that this happens to me, right?
It happens to me too. I once mispronounced a guest name in my podcast the entire show, and she didn't remind me until the very end. I was like, oh my God. So
I get it. The perils of podcasting and being a host. But thank you for being here. I am just so thrilled to be able to connect with you again because you have passions when it comes to a topic that we must bring to the forefront. And I see places where this is going away and it shouldn't. We need to talk about diversity. We need to talk about inclusion, equity, belonging, all of it. This is a conversation for someone like me that has been in a place like you that didn't feel like I belong. I want to make sure that others have opportunities and have the tools to navigate life and not have that not belonging feeling. Because ultimately, that's one of the things that we crave the most as adults or humans, rather.
Yeah, no, I agree. Everybody wants to feel like they belong and don't feel left out, that they're invited to the table, whether you're a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant male to a Black low-income individual or a Hispanic individual like us. I grew up low income as well, so or LGBTQ plus, that you can be your whole self, your whole authentic self, and not feel judged.
I have to tell you, as we were talking about this just now, I had a flashback of childhood, and this is so crazy. I grew up in El Salvador till I was about 10, 11, and there is, I don't know the name of the game, but it's like a little game in which you chant the little song in a circle and someone is in the middle. And basically the song says, this poor little orphan who is sitting here alone, let's throw her out into the streets so she can cry over her tragedy. And then you repeat, cry over her tragedy, cry over her tragedy. And I remember playing that song, right? Because as we were talking about belonging and the part of things, I thought, yeah, I hate that song. And I hated that game.
I've never heard of that game. But as kids, we don't realize what we're saying, like Ring Around the Rosies about the plague.
Right?
And London Bridge is falling down. And it's like, oh my gosh. It's like, children don't realize some of the things that they turned into games, that they were based on real tragedies.
Absolutely.
And situations. Yeah.
It goes to show you that we as humans have vulnerabilities, and yet we only look into ourselves and think we are the only ones.
Yeah.
When did you first learn to embrace your vulnerabilities?
Not till adulthood. So growing up, I was very self-conscious. I don't know if it also stemmed from me being the middle child, but I wasn't an ignored child by any means. But I was the best child, the good child. No, but I was always self-conscious, and I think that stemmed from me not really knowing where I fit in, because I am multiracial, biracial, I should say, and I was a military brat, so we moved around a lot, and then we went back to my parents' home state of Texas, and they got divorced, and then we moved into the not the barrio, but close to it in El Paso, and it was a Spanish-speaking community, and I didn't speak Spanish because my father's white, and my mother's from Veracruz, and I just that just made me even more insecure because I didn't know where I belonged. I wasn't white enough. I wasn't Hispanic enough, and there was nobody else like me in my classes, and so growing up, it was like that until I pretty much left my first university and went, which was at UT Austin, and went back to home to UT El Paso. That's where, and I changed majors because I felt like I didn't belong, and I couldn't find the resources I needed to make me successful in the electrical engineering program. And so I changed majors and was very successul. And I think that's what I needed. That's when I started finding myself and gaining my confidence. And granted, it still took some years after that, but that's when it started to increase. And I became more comfortable in my own skin, and was started to love me for who I am and everything that I brought to the table. I mean, it was a little bit of a bumpy road, but it was a bumpy road going up instead of like even or downhill. And my grades started improving, and I started making more friends, and just working is again and being successful, and I just gained confidence that way, and it showed in everything else that I did. In everything else that I did, whether it was my studies or my work, and yeah, it's just it's been uphill ever since. But as you had said in my introduction, I started in electrical engineering, and it was being a first-gen student. It was at a huge institution where you're just a number, which probably wasn't the best thing for me. It wasn't the best thing for me. I could say that I needed the smaller university, which wasn't itty bitty, but it was UT El Paso, where you weren't a number. The professors knew your names, and you could go. They didn't have TAs. You could go straight to them and ask questions in their office hours or after class. And navigating UT Austin, which is an excellent institution, just it wasn't for me.
It's a large school, and I think that not everything, right? It's a one size fits all, and many times we take that for granted.
Exactly, and as youth in growing up in this not really a small town, but your own town, whether it's a small town or a large town, a lot of times the local universities, or if you have a university in your hometown, get a bad rap. You want to go away to university, and so that's the mindset I was in. And community college, that's for people who can't make it. You get into university, right. And that's not true. It's not true.
Not at all.
And to me, it's like I think I really should have started at community college. So now that I have more exposure,
live and learn, and now we know better, right? Know better, do better.
Exactly. And that's where all of my the obstacles that I had to. And failures I experienced and got back up and continued, and have just fueled my passion in my work. So when I'm now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, And I got to work with, when I first got here, I got to work with immigrants and refugees. And that was the most rewarding experience because
Imagine.
and individuals who were low income as well, Native U.S. Citizens who fell through the cracks of the K through 12 system for various reasons. And it's from my teaching and everything like that, it just made me realize that there's such a need, and I could give that all the things I experienced were for a reason, because I can teach and guide others to feel like they have someone they can come to with questions, to build that rapport and help them navigate systems. Because when you're when you have nobody as a guide, no one's who's done it before you, you are lost and you feel like you're the stupidest person in the world because you don't know where to go, and you don't want to look stupid, so you're hesitant to ask. And I mean, depending on your personality, and my personality was that, I didn't want to look stupid, and like I didn't know what I was doing. And so my experiences were all for this, and helping immigrants and refugees navigate systems, individuals who are U.S. born that don't have that individual to go to navigate systems and get the services they need to be successful if they need those extra services.
Absolutely.
And it's and just I mean, there's, when it comes to immigrants and refugees, there's so many professionals educated professionals coming into our country as refugees, and green card lottery winners, and other, special immigrant visas and everything. And they don't know where to start, because they're not told. I mean, you think that...
No, not at all. The infrastructure and the systems in our country, right? They're really not friendly to somebody who is coming in. My husband and I had been doing some research about living abroad. And it's interesting how other cultures have like an infrastructure set up for, if you're going to come in, this is, this is where you come in, you get someone mentoring, and it's incredibly important. This is one of the reasons why I was so taken by our first conversation, because I know that the work that you do is incredibly important in your business. One of the things that you do is you help business leaders build a diverse and inclusive culture. And I already know that there's probably someone that is listening, and I still love you if you are, right? Whoever you may be, that is thinking, well, why do we want a diverse culture? Why, like, people come in and they should just assimilate. But why is that important to an organization? And why do we want to attract, hire, and retain that diverse culture?
Great question. So let me address the first thing that you said first, was about the person who may be listening, like they should just assimilate. And it's not that people don't want to, they want to, but they don't know how to, because they only know the culture and the customs and policies and procedures that they grew up in or fled from. And I mean, and they had to learn, if they fled their country to a refugee camp in another country, they learned those procedures and stuff because there was people there to help them. But when they come here, a lot of times, like refugees, they get on a plane, they have no idea. They know what country they're going to. They're not told anything else. They don't know what city. They don't know anything. They don't know who's going to meet them at the airport. It is scary.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have to go through so many vetting procedures, so many background checks to even get on the list first. And then they have to wait 3+ years to even get on that plane, which they have to pay back, within 3 months. They have to start paying everything back, all that travel for whoever came with them, their families. And so they're thrown into this country. And as you said, other countries seem to have these infrastructures in place, but for some reason, there's a lack of communication between agencies, government agencies and stuff, like when they're waiting on that list for 3+ years, there's little preparation given to them, especially like the professionals, like about getting your credentials evaluated and getting everything ready. Like these are the things that you need to start working on now, that you can work on now while you're waiting. And so you can be better prepared to enter the industry that you have experience in education in. Once you get to the country you're going to, and it's just there's that lack of preparation on that point. And they may be getting some English classes. I don't know if every refugee camp is given English classes. But then you have your green card lottery winners, the same thing. Like a lot of them speak English, decent English,
Right.
But they're not told those things either, like about the credentials and evaluations and everything, and that's things that they could start preparing for, taking some U.S. Based courses online to learn policies and procedures in whatever industry that their experiences in. They would jump, they would do that in a heartbeat, if they were told. But so people arrive here and they're blind; they have no one to guide them, and they have to take the first job that's given to them as a refugee. And a lot of times that's like the service industry, the jobs that nobody wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I knew people who my mom was friends with them. She grew up with them in El Salvador, and again, very highly educated, and were doctors, lawyers. And during the war in El Salvador, they came here and they came with asylum, but they couldn't practice, and they took a job. Not that, again, there's nothing wrong with any of these jobs, but
no, there isn't.
you spend a lot of time,
honest work.
You spend a lot of time investing into your education. You have an area of expertise, and nobody is really helping you navigate that.
Yeah. And as asylum seekers, asylum seekers actually have, I wouldn't say have, and part of I can't think of a better way to say this, but have it the worst, because especially now, because before the Trump administration, they had to wait 6 months to apply for their work visa after they applied for asylum.
Right.
Now it's a year. So they submit their paperwork. So when asylum seekers, as you know, they step their first, step onto U.S. soil, they have 1 year to apply for asylum.
To apply, right.
And a lot of them apply right away as soon as they can. But they have to wait 1 year after their application is submitted to even apply for a work visa. That makes no sense to me.
That makes no sense whatsoever, because then
it's like,
you have someone who is ready, willing, and able to work, and yet they can't. Yeah. And they're here. They're here legally. They're here legally, absolutely. And these are the intricacies that I think a lot of people don't realize when it comes to the conversation of immigration, diversity, and really, I am a firm believer that we have such richness from the experiences that other people bring to the table, that creating these inclusive and diverse environments can only help to innovate more, can help to grow organizations. And I actually, in the latest episode of the podcast, and if people haven't heard it, you should go back to it, because I've been ruminating on this, and I was kind of bothered by it for a long time. But I know that if I talked about it out of passion, I would not necessarily make a good point across. So Dan and I talked about it in this after maybe a week or two since the incident happened with the kicker from the Chiefs in the commencement speech. And the reality is that we need to stop creating these silos where people go into. Based on religion, based on gender, based on culture, based on anything. And I don't have the right to tell someone this is what you should do. Nobody
Exactly.
has that. And then you're creating this animosity. And for the women who have to make the tough choice to, I want to be home, but I have to work, you're making them feel, again, some range of emotions. And I think about, what if the women, right, that created some of the most incredible inventions that we use every day, decided that
cell phones and everything, all that Wi-Fi,
cell phone, Wi-Fi, diapers, your windshield wipers, your
the dishwasher.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So see,
You're welcome.
and we don't understand that it is not for everyone. It is not for everyone. And this is why it's important to be able to create these opportunities for people to step up and live to their potential and make the choice that best suits them, as opposed to randomly just saying, this is what we're going to do. These narratives need to be dismantled for sure.
Yeah, because at the end, we're all the human race. We all want pretty much the same thing. We want to be accepted for who we are. We want to feel like we belong.
Right.
We want to be heard and valued. And backtracking to one of your questions before was about the inclusive spaces. What do immigrants and language learners bring to the table? As you said, they bring innovation. They a lot of them have excellent work ethics, excellent time management, and they are so reliable. As long as they know what is expected. And so that's where the mentorship, the work buddy, is so important from the time of, at the time of onboarding on, or even to me, I like to say from the time of job description and job posting, things need to be inclusive, gender neutral, inclusive wording, and inclusive for all the audiences, including language learners, especially some of those types of questions, the supplemental questions, that which some of them have been impossible to answer for someone who wasn't educated and raised in the U.S. alone. It's like, because there's so many different types of educational systems all around the world. And in today's workplace, it's a very global workplace these days. And people are moving around all over the world. I lived and worked in Turkey for 4 years and my experiences there were so inclusive and inviting, and as compared to some of the stories that some of my former students / clients experienced, to where they, and even as women, I would even say that we're minorities, we feel like we have to prove ourselves, and we're 10 times harder to get any sort of notice. And because people think tend to think more so if you're a woman or a minority or marginalized population of some sort, including immigrants and language learners, that you don't know what you're not good enough. You know, they're waiting for you to fail. And that's, maybe they're not thinking that, but that's how many of us feel.
Absolutely.
Like they think I'm not smart enough. So we show up, and we should keep showing up, of course, but we feel like our successes go unnoticed, but anytime we may make a mistake, those go noticed.
Yeah.
And those are amplified.
And that is amplified. You're right. I wonder also, you know, and I think that this is the other part of the conversation that people don't realize. And I'd be interested on your opinion on this when it comes to this inclusivity and equity. We also need to address the conversation of not just women, not just immigrants, not other cultures, but also individuals who are maybe neurodivergent. And I think that this is the conversation that I don't see a lot being addressed. Do you see? Do you think that we need to address it more? And is there a trend to maybe bring it into the conversation at least?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you mentioned neurodiversity, because there are so many invisible disabilities that people get judged for, because a lot of individuals with invisible disabilities don't disclose, because they're afraid of that stigma. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of being terminated. They're afraid of not getting the job. or that promotion based on that implicit bias, that assumption. And so they don't disclose. So when they are having a bad day, they a lot of their colleagues judge them.
Right.
One, because they don't know, but two, instead of judging them, they should be talking to them. Like, are you okay? Is everything okay?
Right.
What can I do? And a lot of the time people will disclose at that time, because they feel safe enough to.
Right.
Safe spaces are inclusive spaces, and vice versa. And if a work culture or workplace doesn't have that safe space, and authenticity and true inclusion don't exist, but neurodiversity needs to be brought to the table, because and other invisible disabilities,
Right.
whether it's fibromyalgia or
Absolutely.
even back pain and migraines.
Absolutely.
And,
I have a friend that was a VP in one of the companies that I worked with. We grew up through the ranks together, and she was hired maybe 6 months after I did. And again, a go-getter, so smart, incredibly intelligent. We got to know each other very well because we used to travel a lot to do trainings. And after I left the company, she continued to work and grow. And she has fibromyalgia. And after she gave birth to her son, that it became even more so that she would have, if the day was cold, or just so many things we don't really anticipate. Traveling became harder, but of course, she is a go-getter, wants to meet expectations, and would put herself last until her body really started to deteriorate, because there was no, I guess, what would I say, accommodation to something that is invisible. And these are the things we need to talk about more.
Yeah. And because a lot of times there are repercussions, unfortunately, that organizations do. They start taking things away from you, or they demote you, or they lay you off for other reasons, but it's I lost my train of thought. But it's like with these invisible disabilities. Oh, that's right. Another important one with our veterans and our refugees is PTSD.
PTSD, absolutely.
And not just them. A lot of people have PTSD PTSD for various reasons. Whether they were raped or assaulted.
And even after the pandemic now, there's so many different people that are really suffering from this, but it's not a conversation. And I think that the other piece that we're not doing enough of is creating that psychological safety and training our first line managers to really be able to recognize this, so that they can, again, create the environments in which people feel accepted, feel heard, and therefore we can continue to work in together and grow together.
And that's why doing strategic assessments across the organization with a third party doing it, not the organization.
Not the organization,
itself, because they're not going to get accurate outcomes because of fear of repercussion.
No, and again, you go back into some of the implicit biases of the culture of the organization that you're blind to. So is this the type of program and services that you offer as well?
Yes. So I do assessments across organizations to see to assess that inclusivity. And also the diversity, like how diverse are your teams? Is it a true inclusive environment? What initiatives are put in place? And a lot of it's done by surveying the employees themselves, the ones who are out there, like in the organization. How are they feeling? Because feelings. So you could have stuff on paper. That's great. But are your policies and procedures, if you have your DEI policies written out in your handbook and stuff, are they really being followed?
Yeah.
Are they outdated? When were they written? So, and are your new hires and new leaders, as you had said, anybody who supervises or leads teams in any way, even one person or volunteers even, needs to go through training.
Yeah.
But at first, I mean, but really the entire organization does, on different, like cultural sensitivity, implicit bias. And then the leaders need to have inclusive leadership. But and all that is figured out, like what all needs to be done, what needs to be changed or updated based on these assessments. It's so those are some of the services I do. And I also do one-on-one coaching as well, because some people want individualized coaching, like on their own. And
it's incredibly beneficial to be able to have someone like you who, because again, right, nobody is born or gets to any place in their career in which you are an expert at all of this. So it's very important to be able to have someone that maybe has really specialized. Most of us executives or management are generalists in many different things, right? We know,
and I don't like to say I'm an expert, because to me, things are always evolving, and I'm constantly learning new strategies myself. So I like to say I'm a specialist or an aficionado.
I love the specialist, and continuous learning, collaboration is some of the things that I know that it really are part of your values. You also have ethical integrity, sustainability, adaptability. Oh my goodness!
Adaptability.
Thank you. Equity, authenticity. Oh my. What can people expect? And what does it look like to work with you? If they can bring you into their organization, you do workshops, training. Do you go in and who is your first person that typically will bring you in?
The first person to typically bring me in would either be a CEO, someone on the board, or an HR director or administrator of some sort, and they would do a discovery call with me to see, they can talk to me about what they feel that they're needing and lacking.
Nice.
And then I could talk about my services, and then we could see if, and how I might be able to help. And we can see if what I can offer can possibly help them. And then they can, if we both feel that we're compatible, then we can schedule an assessment if that's what they're wanting, a whole strategic plan, created. We can start with the assessments. If they just want some trainings for their onboarding program, or just their leadership or boards, or all the employees at large, we can schedule those as well. They're all customized to the needs of the organization and the teams. And then I also do another wonderful, I wish more organizations would jump on this, called intergroup dialogue. It's facilitated conversations, having those uncomfortable conversations. Now, it's not, and it's needed because that's where learning happens. But it's not huge groups; it's smaller groups.
Yeah, they have to be smaller groups, and it's so good. That is a great initiative.
Yeah.
That I think that can create a lot of expansion. And really begin to plant some great seeds within an organization, because if you can get a small group dialoguing and maybe creating these conversations and maybe the evolution of what they believe, right? Shifting some of these beliefs, and they can move to the next step. Yeah.
Of starting to understand and step out of the comfort zone and start to understand someone else's experiences, someone that they work with every day, that they or interact with on a regular basis, that they had no clue, because we all assume things about people, and as we know, assumptions are often wrong.
No, don't. You know what happens when you assume?
Bad things.
Bad things happen. Andrea, what is the one thing that I didn't ask you that you want people to know about with the work that you do?
So the work that I do is stemmed from the heart. It's stemmed from how I have been treated, but how I I know my clients have been treated too, and it's just stemmed from the experience. And oh, geez, that's a really tough question. So that all of my trainings are customized to
Love
the
that.
organization's experiences and the team's experiences, because every experience, what I experience is nothing like what somebody at your organization is experiencing, and vice versa. So it starts with me going in and observing and talking to the teams, and learning about them a little bit, observing, so I can customize the training. Whether it's sitting in on a virtual meeting, even, if the teams are remote, just sitting in and seeing how the interactions are, and taking a little bit of notes. So I can, I'm not going to call anybody out. I never do in my trainings, but it helps me.
It helps.
You said this. But it's just a nice way to make it more customized to the teams and who I'll be training, giving these workshops to, because I want them to be able to have takeaways that they feel that they can use instantly. And when they're customized to their needs, the chances of them using them instantly increase significantly compared to generalized
amazing
takeaways. So, yeah.
I love that you are giving some quick wins and sustainability in the work that you have. I'm so grateful that you're here. We need to get you back to have a longer conversation. This is something that I love speaking about, and certainly so much to unpack in this topic.
I agree.
Maybe you should come to our Building a Boss Summit in October. Ooh. We have a summit here in Connecticut. Come over, run over. I'm going to send you the information.
Send me the information, and I'll see if I can fit it into my schedule.
Fit it in. It's going to be really fun. We're going to showcase the city of Hartford, and we look for just high caliber women who are making an impact in the world to come and join us and help build bosses all around our communities. So thank you for being here, my friend.
Thank you for inviting me, Julie.
Yeah,
likewise.
Such a great person. You're doing some incredible work. We are going to have all of Andrea's information in the show notes. We're going to ask you, I am asking you, go connect and let her know what is the one thing that she said, that she shared, that you're going to implement and integrate into your everyday life. And if you know someone that can benefit from having Andrea in their organization, or maybe you just want to talk and ask her a question, there's so much that we unpacked. Implicit bias. We talked about how to be able to manage some of these tough conversations. She is your gal. So until next time, my friends, I am so grateful for all of you listening. You make my day, and this podcast is for you so that we can all go confidently together in the directions of our dreams. Until next time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie, for having me.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Casa de Confidence podcast with Julie DeLucca-Collins. Remember to check her out on Instagram and Facebook, and always click subscribe to catch every new episode. Remember, leave a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And as always, go confidently in the direction of your dreams.
Hi, everybody. I know that sometimes we get very lonely in this entrepreneur journey, and I want to invite you to join us into our limited time only Purposeful You Mastermind. For many of us entrepreneurs, we believe that we can do it all, but the reality is that doing it alone only creates a lot of overwhelm. So join us at the Purposeful You Mastermind. You can find out more information by going to bit.ly/Julie's Mastermind. This is going to be the place where you are able to then unlock your full potential and achieve long-term success for your business, push you behind your current limits, expand your connections, discover new ideas, and implement them with confidence. You're going to get the support in all aspects and transforming you to the six-figure business you've been looking for. Pause and get off the hamster wheel if you've been spinning around. This is a time where you can get that support from like-minded entrepreneurs that are here to join you in your journey. Together, we can challenge the assumptions and land the speaking engagements and opportunities we want to grow our business and make an impact in the lives of people. See you then. Remember, you can find the mastermind at bit.ly, Julie's Mastermind.